The bad news. As humans, we are extremely resistant to change. The good news, we are also one of the most adaptable creatures on the planet. We don't do well with extreme change that happens all at once, but we actually do really well with small, incremental changes, one key shift at a time. And one of the best ways to do that is to start developing different habits for ourselves. But again, one little bit at a time. And so today I'm going to talk to you about 7 really simple habits that you can start implementing daily. And just starting small with this one, not taking it all on, because like I said, if we try to take on too much, it's too overwhelming for our psyche. And then our psyche starts to shut down and we resist it and we give up and we say, forget it, it's way too hard. But if we do small little incremental changes, our brain has a chance to adapt and adjust along the way. So I'm going to talk to you about 7 simple habits that you can start working on a little bit right now that are going to change your life. If you're new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Introduce yourself in the comment section below if you haven't already so that I can say hello and the rest of us can welcome you here. And if you are back again, welcome back. It is always so good to have you here. Either way, my name is Kristina, and I am a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, and the creator of the Shift Society. I have a master's degree in counseling psychology, and I work to help heart-centered go-getter men and women break through the crap that is holding them back so that they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And yes, I said I am the creator of the Shift Society. For those of you who come here often, you might notice that that is different. And that is because we have a new membership community, a new membership program called the Shift Society. And if you're not in there already, then you need to get in there. And the link with all the information is going to be in the description below. If registration isn't open, when you go to check it out, make sure you get on the wait list so that you are the first to know when we open up registration again. This membership program is going to change your life. And speaking of things that will change your life, these 7 habits absolutely will. And you might already be doing some of them. So as you go through the list, take note of the ones that you're already doing, and then take note of the ones that you're not. And from there, regardless of how many you are or aren't doing, only start to work on implementing 1 or 2 of them at a time. Because like I said before, if we try to do too much, our psyche gets overwhelmed, it gets overloaded, and it can't cope with it all. So then it just says, forget it to the whole thing. It says, this is way too hard. I can't do this. I don't like this. This is just too much for me. And so then it'll resist the whole thing and you will end up exactly where you are now and not moving forward. To my perfectionists here who think that the only way to make a change is to do it all at once and to do it all perfectly and to get it all right, manage that perfectionist brain and remind it that that is not the way to move forward. That is the way to self-sabotage. So 1 thing at a time, maybe 2 if they seem doable. It's not go big or go home. It's go small to moderate and make it doable and sustainable. For those of you who are resistant to the word habit, you're like, ugh, I don't want to take on habits. That just feels like such a hassle. It feels so annoying or whatever that is. Know that you already have a lot of habits in your daily life. And most of them, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're not as happy as you want to be, then the truth is those habits are not serving you. We all have habits. Some of them are good for us. Some of them are not so good for us. Some of them are obvious. Some of them are not so obvious. But know that as human beings, we are creatures of habit. So we can train our brain and train our behavior to be doing habits that are healthy and good for us, or we can keep ourselves stuck in the ones that aren't. So let's talk about these habits. And the first one, and this is one of my favorite ones, and is something that I live by and swear by, and it is to learn every day. Our brain wants to be growing. It wants to be expanding. It wants to be developing. So giving it something to feed off of it, giving it something to do, giving it something to contemplate and think about and put together and expand on, and just giving our brains something. It doesn't really matter what it is. Our brains do well when they are growing. We do well as human beings when we are learning and growing and expanding. So whether it's learning a new skill, whether it's learning new information, whether it's learning something new about yourself, if it is through a podcast or a book or something that you read on the internet or a YouTube video. So you can tick this one off your list for today because you are learning something new right now. Making that a part of your daily life. It doesn't have to be big and profound. It doesn't have to be mind-blowing, but something little to give your brain something to contemplate, to grow on, to expand on, to think about in a good way. The next thing is gratitude. And I know this one is really cliche and everyone talks about having an attitude of gratitude and having your gratitude practice and making sure that you're grateful. But I like to talk about this one in a little bit of a deeper way and understanding why gratitude is such a big thing for us as human beings. Because the human brain always wants more. Our brain is always going to the next thing. Because we have actually a hard time being present and being grounded and recognizing where we are, we can find ourselves always being dissatisfied because we always want more. And that's just the way our brains work. So we have to train our brains to be present, to be connected with where we are now. This isn't some just like positive thinking, just be grateful for everything and everything will be fine. This is about training your brain to be satisfied with where it is now, but also allowing yourself to want to learn and grow and expand, like we talked about in the last one. And so having that beautiful kind of intersection of the two, where we are learning and growing and expanding and moving, but also not missing out on being here, on being present, about experiencing that the only thing that we can actually experience, which is this present moment. And that's what gratitude allows us to do. It's not about pretending we don't have any problems. It's not about avoiding the things that we're struggling with. It is about learning how to want what we have instead of continuously focusing on wanting what we don't. And I'm going to say that again because so many of us, we don't think about the fact that we are allowed to want what we have. We focus so much when someone says, "What do you want?" We focus on, what do I want in the future? What do I want? What else do I want? What do I want next? Instead of, when's the last time you asked yourself, what do I want that I already have? Am I going to allow myself to want where I am, what I have right now? And also thinking about the fact that at one point in your life, much of what you have now, much of what you've accomplished up to this point, much of how you've grown until this point, at one point that was something you really wanted. And have you let yourself want it now that you have it? So gratitude, letting yourself want what you have, be happy and good and grateful with what you have now, while also allowing yourself to dream and grow and learn and expand. Gratitude is another one that I think is a great one for turning our minds off at night and falling asleep. If you're someone who lays in bed and your mind spins and spins and you think about everything that you need to do tomorrow, everything that you missed doing today, stuff that you don't want to forget, stuff that happened, whatever that is, if you can't turn your brain off at night, laying there in your bed and practicing going through things that you're grateful for. If you are someone who prays, then you might already find that at night, if you lay in bed and you pray at night, spending time in gratitude through prayer helps to calm your mind. And being able to do that as well by just being grateful in general helps to calm your mind. It stops the spinning by allowing yourself to be where you are and want what you have and recognize what is good now, instead of always stressing and worrying about stuff that may happen that's not great in the future, or that did happen that wasn't great in the past. So gratitude is not just about trying to, quote unquote, think more positive. it's also about trying to and working on thinking more present. The next one, and I love this one. I love all of these ones. That's why I'm sharing them with you, because they've changed my life and they have changed the lives of the hundreds of clients and students that I've worked with over the years. And I teach them all the time. The next one is to work on your goals every day. And this is actually, I call it the lazy person's way to get ahead, to move ahead, to be having what you want in the future. We talked about wanting what we have in the present, but also about that learning and growing part. There's things that we want to experience. There's things that we want to have. There's goals that we want to reach. There's ways that we want to grow and expand. And so the easy way, the lazy way to do that is to work on it every day. I'm not saying you have to work, 20-hour days every single day on your goal in order for you to move forward. No, I'm talking like 20 minutes, but doing it every single day. Hashtag no days off. And this isn't about grinding and hustling and pushing and working your butt off every single day. This is about doing a little bit and keeping the momentum moving. If you start giving yourself excuses and reasons why, oh, I don't feel like it, or not today, or I'm too tired, or, I just don't want to do it right now. If you keep giving your brain an excuse, it'll keep coming up with excuses. But if you make a promise to yourself and a commitment to yourself and tell your brain, who's boss, and say, we're going to do a little bit every day. It is way easier to keep an object in motion than it is to get it moving from static position, from stopped. It's way easier to keep it going. So I say, yeah, it's the lazy way to reach your goals, to move forward, to fulfill your dreams, is to do a little bit every darn day. And do you know what else gets no days off? Moving your body. And if you just let out a big groan when you heard me say that, I want you to get curious about why it is that we think that taking care of our physical health, exercising every day, moving our bodies is some kind of hassle or some kind of punishment. Because the truth is, our brains and our bodies are so interconnected that if we want to be feeling good up in here, we have to be taking care of what's going on in here. This isn't about just wanting to look a certain way. This is about feeling a certain way. And research shows that all it takes is 30 minutes a day. 30 minutes of moderate exercise. So you don't have to go to the gym and do a 2-hour HIIT workout. I'm talking about going for a 30-minute power walk around your neighborhood. About putting in some headphones and putting on some music and dancing around your living room, or sticking your computer on and being here on YouTube and having a YouTube video dance party in your bedroom. Whatever that is, being intentional with this one, because again, if we are not doing this every day, then our brain is going to come up with some kind of excuse about why we don't need to do it today. Oh, I'll just start tomorrow. Oh, I'll just do it tomorrow. Oh, I'm too tired today. Oh, I've had a long day. These are all the reasons why we should be moving our bodies. Because when we are tired, moving our bodies is going to revitalize us. When we've had a big stressful day, moving our bodies is going to move that stress through. If you are a highly sensitive person and you are taking in a lot of energy every single day through all of your senses and it's all getting in there, it has to move through. And the easiest way to do that is to move your body, or else it just gets stuck in there and it festers in there. So that is our fourth habit, moving your body every day, making it easier on yourself by having no days off, and just keeping the momentum going. Then there is no excuse. The next one, practicing deep breathing. And you might be like, Julia, deep breathing? Really? Come on. You got to give me more than that. Well, I'm going to tell you, learning how to breathe deeply, learning how to do deep breathing is not quite as simple as it sounds. And it does have a profound impact on our mental and emotional well-being, because often what happens when we're feeling stressed, when we're feeling anxious, when we're feeling overwhelmed, we breathe shallowly from the top of our lungs. We breathe from right up in here. We're not taking proper breaths. We're taking quick, shallow breaths, which then sends a signal to our brain that we're in danger, that things aren't okay, that there's some kind of threat, which then sends the signal back to our body to say, okay, we got to get ready. Something bad's going to happen or something bad is happening. And so then our body continues to speed up and we just get caught in this back and forth cycle. And because when you're in that heightened state, you can't access your rational brain because it's taken over by the amygdala, which is the emotion center. And you can't access your brain to just be like, oh, just calm down, or just, don't get upset, or don't get worked up, or don't be stressed. That's why you can't access it. It doesn't work to try to say that because your amygdala is like, no, we're in danger. Something bad is going to happen. We can't calm down. And so in order to break through that, you have to intervene at the physical level. So you have to slow down your breathing and take deep diaphragmatic belly breaths with a big inhale and a slow exhale, because what that does is it slows everything down physically, which then sends a signal to your brain to say, oh, maybe we're not in danger. Maybe everything is okay. The body's feeling kind of relaxed, so it must mean that we're not about to die. Unless you actually are, but I'm not talking about those times when you are in actual threat and your brain's trying to protect you from a real threat. No, we're talking about 99.9% of the times in our lives when we're not in real danger, but our brain likes to trick us into believing that we are, and then we get all wound up, stressed out, anxious, overwhelmed, whatever that is. So intervening at the physical level is going to send a signal to your brain that you are okay. And then it's going to start a positive feedback loop. So then your brain thinks it's okay. Then it's going to send a signal back to your body to say, oh, I guess we're okay. We don't have to get ready to fend for our lives. And then that goes back and forth like that. And training your body to do this and getting in there, because at first you will have to remember to breathe. You will have to remember to take those deep breaths to intervene when you're feeling wound up. But if you make it a habit every single day of remembering to do it and reminding yourself to do it, eventually your body will just automatically start coping better. When it's feeling stressed out, when it's feeling anxious, it'll start to automatically do it on its own without you having to think about it. And I'm going to tell you, my body knows how to do this now. After practicing it, making it a habit, my body automatically does it. Sometimes at inopportune times. So a couple years ago, I was at a group workshop, and I was sitting in the room, and there was about 75 people in there, and the speaker was talking and teaching at the front, and it was a lot. I was taking in a lot, and there was a lot of information, and I was starting to get overwhelmed, and I could feel myself being stressed, and automatically, I didn't even know this happened until my neighbor sitting next to me looked at me and said, whoa, that was like the biggest sigh I've ever heard. But it was my body's way of trying to regulate itself to keep me out of getting anxious, by reminding me, you're okay, you're not in real danger. And so I took this big breath and then exhaled, and it came out as a big sigh. And I didn't even notice that it happened, but my neighbor did. And she pointed it out, and I was like, oh, I guess my brain and my body are just taking care of me right now. So that's how powerful it can be when we practice deep breathing. Eventually, our brain just kicks in, and it is a way. It's not going to solve all your problems. I'm not saying that deep breathing is going to solve all your problems, but it's going to prevent you from getting as keyed up and as ramped up and spiraling, and just keeping things a little more grounded. And then if there's more work you need to do in there, it's going to give you the space to be able to do that, because you're not in full-on panic, freak out, stressed out, can't cope mode. The next one, having a creative outlet. Having something that you love to do. Some people get to do this for work. Not everyone does, but this isn't some just this special little thing to just do some kind of creative thing when you're not working or in your free time or whatever this is. This isn't like this special little thing. This isn't like a little extra. Research shows that having something that you can lose yourself in, something that lights you up, something that you're passionate about and interested in, is essential for our happiness and satisfaction in life. For those of you who are familiar with Brené Brown's work, she talks about having some kind of creativity in your life. Martin Seligman, who is the creator of positive psychology, calls it engagement, something that you are engaged in. And then there is this other researcher, I can never say his name, so I'm going to try and read it. It's Micheli Csikszentmihalyi, who created the term flow, getting into flow state, where time and space seem to disappear and you are just invested and involved and engaged and interested. And this doesn't have to be something big and profound. It can be underwater basket weaving if that's what you're passionate about. It can be some kind of actual art thing. It can be it can be music. It can be writing. It can be drawing. It can be speaking. Often people say that they can find this in sports as well, just losing yourself in that process of learning and growing and engaging and investing. Yoga is also a big one for this. Why people love yoga so much is because it's a skill that you're learning and developing. It's an art and a science. So whatever that is, this doesn't have to be like, I don't want you to freak out and think, I don't know what I'm passionate about. It doesn't matter. What are you interested in? What do you find yourself looking into, wanting to know more about, wanting to talk about? That's going to be your first clue if you don't actually know, but just starting somewhere and having something in your life that you like, that brings you joy, that you get excited about having a few minutes to be able to do. And it doesn't have to be your job, like I said. Some people are passionate about their jobs. Some people do have that through their jobs, but not everybody does. And it doesn't really matter, just as long as you have it in your life in some way. And then the next one, probably the most important one. And this habit is to teach yourself to think on purpose. And that might seem like this really sort of like out there statement. Unless you've been with me for a while, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But learning how to think on purpose. We do not think on purpose. We let whatever thoughts come into our mind just be there. We believe them. We see them as truths. And then often they're not helpful thoughts. Sometimes they are, and then that's great. But when they're not helpful thoughts, we buy into them. We believe them. We get all wound up and anxious and worked up and upset, instead of actually deciding to think on purpose, realizing that our thoughts are not always truths. Oftentimes they are just messages that we have taken in and taken on and absorbed and adapted in our brains without even knowing it. We think that they are our thoughts, but often they aren't even our thoughts. They are other people's thoughts. They are society's thoughts. We are the product of what's happening around us. And we take that in, and we take that on, and we think that is us, instead of taking a step back and looking at it more objectively and being able to think, do I want to think this? Is this thought helpful? Is this thought something that is good for me? Is this thought healthy? Is this thought serving? Is this thought productive? And if the answer is no, it is learning how to think intentionally and on purpose, not believing everything you think and just buying into it and going down that rabbit hole. So learning how to think on purpose. And if this is something that you really want to learn how to do, then you need to come and join the Shift Society. This is the cornerstone of the work that we are doing, is undoing a lot of those negative, self-destructive, self-defeating, unhelpful, unhealthy thoughts and beliefs and ways of thinking that are keeping us where we are, keeping us stuck. So again, the link is in the description below. If registration isn't open by the time you get to that page or when you see this video, make sure you get on the wait list so that you are the first to know when we open up registration again. That program is going to change your life. And if you want somewhere to start right now, then get my free download, my 5 healthy reminders. These are going to be things that you can start learning how to think better by using these healthy reminders to remind your brain of these things. And that's going to start to adjust and adapt your thinking in some significant ways right now. So grab that download. Habits. Little steps every day and a crap ton of self-compassion along the way. It's not go big or go home. It's make it doable and sustainable, so that over time we have the big breakthroughs. Over time, those little shifts, one bit at a time, create a completely different destination, a completely different outcome. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know, which one of these are you doing already? And which one do you want to start on today? These little shifts, one at a time. Get on the wait list for the Shift Society, grab the 5 Healthy Reminders free download, and until next time, take good care.